guys are feeling or how a coach will feel right after winning the MTN FA Cup in a season with very difficult circumstances, and even to hear a rumor, because it's not been heavily confirmed anywhere, but to hear a rumor that the club is looking at beefing the technical team or looking at replacing you. How do you take that as a coach?
Well, thank you very much, George. It's a difficult one, but we will do justice to this question.
Yeah.
As a coach, I would feel been able at least to give the team a trophy, a very important trophy, even though it's not the league. And aside that, too, well, like he himself indicated, it could have been better with the league, but it didn't go that way for him. And then also thinking of the fact that I'm hearing rumors that it's likely I will be changed. It's the whole thing for every coach who is coaching Accra Hearts of Folk, because really Accra Hearts of Folk is a big club and all coaches would like to coach Accra Hearts of Folk. Having said all this, we also should review or do a critical analysis of his first year in Accra Hearts of Folk. He took everything for Accra Hearts of Folk. In the second year, he managed to get one. You wouldn't call this a bad result. I was a bit surprised when he told himself that he performed bad this season. Yes, it could have been better because if you do a comparison, I still believe Accra Hearts of Folk has the best team in the league. Why am I saying they have the best team in the league? I'm saying that because they have alternatives. If you have a team that if chap A is not around, you could use B and he would give you the same result, then you have near complete team. So for that reason, I still believe Accra Folk could have done better. But hey, that's what happened. And that football, it happens in football all the time. You don't pin yourself so much. At least you've gone away with the cup. What about those who ended the league without anything?
Yeah.
And this is second year for crying out loud. So I strongly believe that it wouldn't be a good news for him. But again, the larger question will be, is that a good decision for Accra Hearts of Folk?
Yeah.
That's what we're asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I strongly believe that there is absolutely nothing wrong with beefing up the technical team. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. You know, okay, good. Let me come to you, Felix. Now, to the extent that this is actually not official, I have not seen any credible Accra Hartsville site or credible Accra Hartsville social media portal going at this. We have seen journalists, put this out there. Felix, to that extent, how problematic is it in terms of the communication bit and where we are? What is likely to be the cause of all of this? Because key Accra Hartsville guys are still muted on this.
Well, George, I'm kind of a bit disappointed. And if I should go straight forward to the topic being discussed, I will say that Dr. Nyawo Tamaklo is not treating Samuel Boyd with the maximum respect he deserves as a current coach of the Accra Hearts of Folk. You look at what Hearts of Folk have gone through in the past 8 years, or if you want to put it, 11 seasons, and what he has achieved for the club. I feel that if I were to be in his position, I might be signing, my resignation letter and then giving it to the club, because you look at the achievement that he's been able to do in this short period that he's been with the club. See, this is a club that have changed almost 26 coaches in 29 years. And
I think it's 29 coaches in 20 years, right?
29, 28. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, 29 even 20. Yeah, you put it. Yeah.
And you look at these numbers, and you look at a certain Samuel Boyd coming in time when you had a lot of troubles. Nobody even gave him a chance. Looking at what Hearts had gone through the season when we won the league last year, when Edward Odum was taking the team and things weren't going well, they felt, and on the advice of Nyawo Tamaklo, they brought in a certain expatriate in Costa Papich. He couldn't stand the test of time in the heat. And then Boydu came in. You look at what Boydu has achieved. Look at the former coaches of Hearts of Folk. The experience they have to get before even getting appointed as coach of Hearts of Folk. Boydu comes in. he doesn't have a lot of experience apart from Midiema and then straight to Accra to folk. But even with Midiema, we all saw the signs of how good Samuel Boadu was. On 2 consecutive occasions, he was top of the league until COVID and an Anas Expose came in. This is a coach that came in and won you a double in his first season. It wasn't even a complete season. It was half a season. And he did just that. And in 65 matches, he's lost just 4 of them at home. So you look at the trophies, you look at the stars. This is not a coach that you can convince everybody, every reasonable football supporter that he's a bad coach. And you see, when you try to rub it in his face against a coach that just won his first trophy, I mean, Prosper Nate-Ogum won his first, because even before Prosper Nate-Ogum got hold of the Premier League title, you quite remember on your network, Dr. Nyawo Tamaklo said he wished Prosper was coaching the national team.
Yeah.
That for me was even disrespectful towards Boadu. And you don't even make such a statement when just some few days ago he won you your 5th trophy. Now, as a folk fans are talking about trophies, thanks to Samuel Boadu.
Yeah.
So even if you feel that there are some aspects of his technical, abilities that needs to improve, you already have a deal with Cincinnati, Hoffenheim, and co. So why don't you go to Boadu and say, or go to management, or lots of folk don't have a management team, or go to Togbi Afede and say, you know what, let's use our connection with these clubs outside and give Boadu technical training in areas we feel that he needs upgrading. And in these instances, you are trying to improve on what the man already has under his sleeves, and in the same way, helping your team. You get it?
Yeah.
Through Boadu, a lot of Hearts of Oak players are getting recognition in the national team. And even Boadu, he's been appointed a national team coach, coaching the U20. You can't tell me he's a bad coach based on the results and all that. See, truth be told, we should let Nyawo Tamaklo know that we are not in those days when there was the musical,
the musical youth.
Yes, he had to bring in kids. Gone are the days. It worked for him during those times, but we are in a different era of football. Even if the coach is not performing well, you don't disrespect him. And I think that is very, very bad on somebody like Nyawo Tamaklo.
It's very interesting. Again, Coach Osman, so just try and look at the dynamics of why some of Boadu's season went the way it was. And Radio Voka was a very good left back and clearly made an impact in last season's league, as we saw. Emmanuel Nete as well, and the 3 players were taken away. There was a bit of a struggle in trying to get a replacement for them. I think Dennis Kosa came later in the season. Africa didn't go quite well because Glasson Awaka, who was supposed to give them the oomph in Africa, was having a running stomach for 3 months or something of the sort. He wasn't available for 3 months. Glasson is watching this morning. Good morning, Glasson. But he wasn't available, so you didn't get the experience you needed in Africa. So Africa wasn't really great. If you look at the circumstances, and the fact that he had to fall on very, very, inexperienced players or players with little experience from Wafa, from Summertex and the likes to get into the team. Is it even a fair assessment to talk about the fact that you think he didn't do well in the league if that was the only yardstick?
Well, I will try as much as I can to deal with this, but I want us to look at it from a different perspective.
Okay.
I want us to holistically look at Accra to folk as a team, and then perhaps maybe do some SWOT analysis to find out what's the real challenge in Accra to folk. I do not see the coaching department to be the challenge.
A challenge, yeah.
I don't. However, I must also admit the fact that there's been some massive improvement in Accra to folk in terms of managing the team, even though they can. So it is the direction of the team, their 5-year strategic plan, their 10-year strategic plan, their 6-month quick fix plan that would determine which coach they want to go with.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. So for instance, if we want to take the league in the next 5 seasons altogether, we should then look at right players, not players that we are preparing them for future. And this is a fact. You could talk about Jose Mourinho. in situations like this. He goes in for the right one. He gets the result, and on he moves. But if you have players like you're saying, you've introduced new players in the team, no cohesion. Some of them do not have the experience, and you still want to get the result you had when you had Charles Alote, Charles Taylor, Jacob Nete, and the likes. So for me, we should not miss the priority. The priority is what exactly does the Accra Folk need? So, for instance, they could maintain Boedu, get a technical director, get a TD for him. And I would suggest that somebody like Didi Dramani could be one of the best TDs Accra Folk can ever have. He knows the local terrain. He's been a coach before. He's won the league before. He's done everything. So this is not the time for him to come and acclimatize himself with the local league. Having said this, I also still believe that in Boedu, Accra Folk has chalked a lot of success, and he deserves some respect. Like my colleague said, as a coach, he deserves some respect. And he also, as a human being, should be taking some decision. But having discussed all this, I also want to acknowledge the fact that Accra Folk is not my team. It's a big club, and all they are interested in is trophy. And we can't run away from that. So as a matter of fact, if you're not getting the trophy, the issues would come. They want you to get the trophy for them all the time, but they are not doing the work that will give them trophy all the time. So at the point in time, you ask yourself, are you a magician?
Yeah, that's the problem, Felix. It's the bit of a lack of a management structure that the problem, really eats or swallows up Accra Hearts of Oak and how they're going about the planning, because the points at which players leave the club is the big issue. And if you're looking at Accra Hearts of Oak as a simple profit-making organization, they're supposed to be selling their topmost assets for huge money and coming in. I don't remember the last time Accra Hearts of Oak sold a player for huge money, but I remember too many good players going out for free, and it doesn't really wash well. So that is the point at which Accra Hearts of Oak are losing players. Players are currently on just a one-year contract. Players are currently running to the end. Contracts are not being sorted out. And if contracts are not being sorted out, you cannot keep your players. So I won't go on a quick one by mentioning the players in the current team that have got a lot of sorting out to do. If they are not sorted out, just like we saw 3 top players leave last season, we're going to see some top players we saw playing very well this season also leave. How problematic is this, and how much of an urgent matter is this for Togbe Efele to take a look at, Felix?
Well, George, thank you. You see, the problem with Hearts of Folk don't have a good management structure. That is the main problem. They have a very dedicated owner in Togbe Efele. They have a very dedicated, top shareholder of the club who is committed. Somebody you could see that want to, win not just on the field, but improve the infrastructure of the club. But then again, you ask yourself, when you want to be a professionally run football club, you need certain structures. But I look at Accra Hearts of Oak, they don't have it. You ask yourself, do they have a plan when it comes to recruitment? And we talk about recruitment, there your issue comes in. Renewing contracts of players, getting rid of player contracts. Look at what the situation Accra Hearts of Oak find themselves in. They paid a lot of top dollar for a player like Glasson Awaku. Look at how the Awaku incident all turned up. It is because teams will come to Accra Hearts of Oak knowing very well there is no management structure, so they can have their way. Players are refusing to sign deal because they know that the club don't have the right structures in place. And that is the major problem that this club is facing. And you can't fault Boedu for that. If you have proper...
He's not even in charge of club transfers. He's not in charge of transfers. So he has to just get the best out of the players as they bring them, basically.
Well, and you see, I'm even surprised that they managed to win a trophy this season in the MTN FA Cup. And for 2 consecutive seasons, he has never lost a game in the MTN FA Cup. And the reason why maybe it was difficult for him to win the league was because they did not have enough rest after winning the double last season, which was very, very important. They rested just some 3 weeks and then went into the first game of the season against Kamsa, in which they won, got a bye, and then met with that. Look at the preparation towards that with that game. Hearts of Oak weren't that bad. They could have won by a huge margin in the first game against Wydad in Accra. Lack of proper preparation resulted in that poor showing in North Africa. Travel arrangements, other types.
You know, I did a follow up on that because I traveled to Morocco. You remember, just a few weeks after Accra Hearts of Oak did. If you were going to Morocco, for instance, via Dubai, you do close to 20 hours. You are doing close to 20 hours. You're flying 8 hours into Dubai. You're going to be there for a short layover, maybe for an hour or two. That makes it 10. And you're flying from Dubai to Morocco for another 8 hours. That's for 16 all round. You do the same thing when you're coming back. And then you come back and play a game in the Ghana Premier League. No.
George, is that an excuse? Don't you have means of going with a direct flight?
Yeah. Accra said, the time Air Maroc, because of COVID, had stopped, but then it meant they had to go the route of chartered flight, which was very expensive.
They consulted the Ghana Armed Forces. They could have given you a chartered flight.
Yeah, I think that weekend, okay, to be fair, I think that weekend, Vice President had a funeral, if you remember, up north.
George, I'm a bit surprised that you are trying to defend.
I'm giving you their reasons.
Well, and I don't want to buy them, and it shouldn't even be coming from you.
Yeah, you can buy all the seats too in a plane and fly them anyway. It's all right.
But George, that is the reason why you need to plan.
Yeah.
And you see, gone are the days when Hearts of Oak were winning the league and doing well in Africa. Now, the problem with the West, especially the West African team and the North African team, is because of talent and then the financial aspect of it.
Yeah. When
Hearts of Oak were going into the group stages of the Champions League and winning it, it wasn't because the club had money. We never had money, but we had the talent. And we built on that. Yeah. But now the North Africans have the money.
They have the talent too.
They have the talent and they're even buying talent elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it will always be difficult, not just for Accra Hearts of Oak, but Kumasi Asante Kotoko as well, to go into Africa and compete. You look at the teams that are doing well in Africa, they have the right structures. They have the right structures, they have the money, they are doing proper recruitment. You don't have the money. You don't have the structures. You are not doing proper recruitment. And you expect a coach to bring you laurels or bring you trophies. It is not done anywhere. If you don't have the money, we all agree that we are playing in a league where there is no funds and there is no money. But at least get your structures, the basic structures that you need.
Yeah, but Felix, that is my point. That is the worry for me at the moment, because we agree that we have a problematic economy, and so making money is a problem. Every football club in Ghana knows this. Every chief executive knows that one of the greatest sources of making money is by player sales. True or false? That's basic for all our clubs. So if you are failing at player sales for the past 10 years, with your top guys like Emmanuel Nete, I can mention a lot of players. Went for Kobna, about 12, 13, 14 top Accra Hearts of Oak players.
For Kobna, Thomas Abe
went for free. Joseph Esso, they went for free. So if your top assets are going for free, you actually have no subplots in balancing your books, and that's where I think that Togbe may be very worried about. He's not balancing the books. I will be very surprised if Hearts of Oak are balancing them. They are not balancing the books at all, because the top talents are going for free.
There is no proper structure. There is nobody in charge. Look at Kumasi Asante Kotoko. When they brought in Kwame Poku, they realized that Kwame Poku was performing very, very well.
How season he went?
Yes, and they got some cash in there. And then what did they do? They went into Division 1, they went to Cameroon and brought in players. A Tuga for now, if for nothing at all, Kotoko can get close to $800,000, $700,000 or euros from a Tuga. And that is
again,
huge
the fact
money.
that he's Cameroonian and speaks French. Yeah.
Proper structure. You get it. That is proper structure.
Okay, Osman, let me bring you in. Let me bring you in, because clearly from the analysis we're doing based on how Accra Hearts of Oak can make money, to make travels and things comfortable for them, to get the money to buy the players who are winning the CAF Champions League, because the elites who are winning the CAF Champions League are just rotating players and recycling coaches. Basically, that's what they're doing. So the quality is all up there. How disappointing is it that the top talents are leaving the club for free?
Yeah, George, before, let's look at Accra Hearts of Oak before now and what it looks like in the future. The ideology of doing football artistically is becoming archaic. Now football is scientific. Let me explain that. Before, Accra Hearts of Oak would sign a player playing Accra Hearts of Oak, but the player belongs to one of the board members. So he determined what the player gets and where the player will go and play. Meanwhile, the player is playing for Accra to Folk. That was the situation before. Now, we've moved from that. There is a bit of control. But we are still buying players because we want them to play league and win the league, and that ends it. In the future, what I think they should be doing is to start behaving like Accra Lions. How many players did Accra Lions sell this season?
Yeah.
About 7, and 3 are about to go.
Yeah.
When I was the scout for Accra Lions, let me tell you, we had a driver who said he's identified a talent. And then he came to the club and said, I've identified a talent. And you know what he was told? He should come back to me because I am the scout of the team. In Accra to Folk, we would have to take a player because he belongs to the driver. At the end of the season, they say, oh, driver, try and give us one player. And we are taking the player because the driver brought the player. We are taking the player because the supporters brought the player. Now, look at what is happening in Accra Lions. A very organized team. Fantastic management. And I tell you, if they continue like this, they will rule Africa, not Ghana. And that's what Accra Folk should be doing. We all have some soft spot for phobia, but the right things must be done. And they have to be scientific and professional. So for instance, what do they have a scouting department? Do they have a transition coach that's looking at the players from Auroras to the senior team? I have been a team manager of Auroras before. And look, I'm ready to support if they are ready for my service.
Yeah, but that's the point you're making. How many of the Auroras players have come in to Accra Hartsfield main team and been sold for money?
Because they don't even have a transition coach. So who is managing the movement of the players from Auroras to Accra to Folk? So they just pick them, dump them in there, and then at the end of the season, they don't even get a single match to play. Example, Razak Ali. Razak Ali was promoted from Auroras to Accra to Folk. He didn't play a single match because nobody is managing him. They just put him there, survival of the fittest. Dramani was the transition coach for Right to Dreams. What was he doing? He was just looking at how the players are firing, how they are doing when they move to the senior team, what do they need, what kind of conversation should he have with them, how to boost their psychological alertness and mental readiness to really fix in the new team. No, football job is scientific. It moved from artistic. That's the old way of doing it.
That's the old way of doing it. Felix, you expect Togbe Afede, to at the moment demand more from those who are in there, or actually put together a proper management structure. And I think that if Togbe is demanding more, like he would do at Africa World Airlines, or like he would do at Sogli Power, you automatically have to start working like a franchise, like a proper franchise, like a business entity, which Hearts is not doing at the moment. Because if we go down to the books, 3 top players left the club. What have we brought in? What is the value of, for instance, Suraj, Seidu? And there are players at the moment who have come to Accra Hartsfield, and their contracts have not been even sorted out in terms of buying them off from their owners. So, what do you expect Togbe Afede to do if he's watching us this morning?
I have been supporting Hearts of Oak all my life, but I got a proper looking into things involving Hearts of Oak when Mark Noonan was the MD,
right?
Yeah, of the club. He became a personal friend, so yes. I got to know more about the club, and I was surprised that it took Mark Noonan to have a proper staff structure, and payment structure for the club. A club that was over 100 and something years ago when Mark Noonan came in. But I am happy that for now, Togbe have decided that we need to have proper structures and proper, way we do things at the club.
Yeah, because Togbe is the man. He's a bona fide act when it comes to corporate and how to run a corporate entity. He's the Mac. And
that is why I'm happy that in recent months or some few months ago, we saw advertisement in the dailies and even on the platforms of the Phobians advertising for an MD of the club, which is a step and it's in the right direction. And then also looking for a supporters liaison officer to liaise between the supporters and then the management. So I'm sure that when they go through the vetting, and then whatever it is, they appoint an MD.
But the MD, we have appointed MDs before. Don't forget. But you have to make them work. So what has been preventing them from working must also be weeded out.
So let's give them the benefit of the doubt now, because I have believed in a lot of things that Togbi says he wants to do for the club.
Yeah.
They've done that. So I'm happy that at least there is an opportunity for somebody to come in there as MD and have a structure. But I'm hoping that if somebody is appointed as MD and it is not Akambi and it is not Odote, they should stay away from the club. They have their personal relationship with Togbi. They are supporters of the club. These key men, and even Nyawota Maklo, whoever gets the opportunity to be MD should be allowed to work freely and have direct access to Togbi. We don't want a middleman where you have to come through maybe Akambi or Nyawota Maklo or Dote before you get to Togbi. He is the MD of the club. He should be allowed to put in his own structures and form his own committee and make sure that things work for the club. And I'm also pleading with the club. It has been a long time there was a shareholder meeting.
Yeah,
we've used the
excuse of COVID.
We've used the excuse of Anas expose and COVID. I think that we've had 2 consecutive Premier League seasons, completed Premier League season now. It is time to have a shareholder meeting and see where the direction of the club is. There's a new secretariat coming up. There's a new commercial center. Togbi is doing wonderfully well with the Man project. But at least the shareholders of the club also need to know where the direction of the club is going.